Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's Shaun here again. Another edition of Shaun Solo. I'm gonna talk about another game I have played since this unofficial hiatus. Saints Row 4. I actually finished this game about a month ago, so I've had some time to kind of reflect on it and think about it. And I think it's. I'm glad that I am talking about it after playing Grand Theft Auto 5. If you haven't seen it yet, it should be up already. I imagine that's the one I'll put up first. Is I'm going to put up the Grand Theft Auto 5 review. Just a really long, rambling review of Grand Theft Auto 5 that makes no sense and talks about all the controversies and things surrounding it. So that should be up right before this one. Hopefully. Maybe. Hopefully these will go up at all. I don't know. I might be just doing this for myself. But yeah, so Saints Row 4. I was a big fan of Saints Row 3. I never really played the other ones, honestly. I think I'd heard about them, I'd read them, I know that they had kind of a cult following, more than like kind of being like a breakout, like kind of hit type of game. Because it was kind of like a GTA clone, but it did have its own interesting functionality. And when Saints Row 3 came around, they kind of stripped out a lot of what made it unique in the other games unique, or at least Saints Row 2. As far as like the way you can go about like gang initiation and building up your own groups and stuff like that. They took all that stuff out and kind of just decided like, let's just make the silliest, fucking craziest game we possibly can. And I kind of liked that. I liked the disconnect from it. It's not trying to really make a point. It's not trying to do anything. It's not a satire. It's just a farce. It's just pure comedy. There's nothing deeper in Saints Row. I mean, there is some interesting kind of stuff about, I guess, like commercialization and how like a gang is being like heralded in the United States as being like this great thing. It's very commercial. They have like their own sodas and clubs and clothing lines and stuff like that. So there's a little bit interesting commentary there, but it's more of like an aside than really. You wouldn't play that game for that. It's about just being able to create the most crazy batshit scenarios possible and putting you in there and giving you all sorts of weapons and cool things to go about doing it. Like, you could beat somebody with a purple dildo baseball bat thing. Like, just shit like zany shit. It's kind of like the Airplane of video games, I guess, or the hot shots of video games. That's kind of what it reminded me of. Because there's a lot of, like, movie references and shit like that. So, I really liked the game. I did. It was a nice surprise. I was surprised how well like the shooting kind of handled pretty decently. The driving mechanics were like tighter than like say Grand Theft Auto 4. Like, so it was nice. It was fun to traverse the world, and you could buy properties, and there was things you could do. The one downside of that game is like the side missions are super redundant and repetitive, and I might have finished most of them, but like I just kind of did it because I was bored, not because I really wanted to. Or like I felt like a need or a drive to do it, because I'm not like I am in some ways like a completionist. If it draws me in, like if not Grand Theft Auto 4, Red Dead Redemption is something like I was a completionist about that, and by extension, Undead Nightmare. Like I 100%ed those games. But because I felt compelled to, I felt like there was enough there to support it. There's enough interesting side stories and stuff. This one doesn't even, like, Saints Row 3 didn't even have side stories connected to its side mission stuff. Like, they were just kind of separate, like, just mechanically different, just fun things you could do. And it kind of just, like, aped, actually, things that you would do just in the open world of Grand Theft Auto games. Like, creating tons of damage, or getting your star ratings really high, or turning on a cheat and getting hit by cars and floating in the air. So it was a game that was kind of like somewhat. It's a little bit smarter than I think people give it credit for. Like I said, I don't think it's trying to make any larger message about society or anything like that. Like, like Grand Theft Auto does have social commentary that's meant to be taken seriously, even though it has satirical edge to it. I don't think Saints Row, that's not really the goal or the aim, but it does have some interesting things to say just about video games in general, and I think it kind of was poking a little fun at the way people play Grand Theft Auto by making their side missions basically what you would do in a Grand Theft Auto game when you're just fucking around. So they actually incorporated that into the fabric of the infrastructure of the game and then like getting experience for it and progression. So Saints Row 4, for some reason I just was not super excited for Saints Row 4. I don't know why. Like, 'cause I liked Saints Row 3 a lot. But maybe I kind of had felt like, well, maybe I spent my time with that series and I didn't necessarily need to revisit it. But like it was on sale on Steam and I ended up just buying it. Well, not like a super awesome sale, but it was a little bit cheaper. I think I got it for like $45 or something like that. So $15 cheaper than normal. And so I decided, like, what the fuck? I didn't have any new games. It was the summertime. Things are slow in the gaming release world. So I picked it up, and I was super pleasantly surprised. I love Saints Row 4 more than I liked Saints Row 3. I think, because it's got this cool in quotes, like kind of world where you're kind of in this Matrix thing, so the rules of reality do not apply anymore, and you can kind of, once, very shortly, only a few hours into the game, you're flying around that entire world doing all sorts of crazy shit. Which is cool. It kind of like actually felt like playing like one of those games with like the mods and stuff. The game broke itself. and it's just, because that's what people are going to do anyways, to a certain degree. That's what people do after a game's been out like this for a while. They'll go and do their mods or cheat codes or whatever. And so they were just like, fuck it, we're just going to put that in the game. And I think it ended up being like making for some really, really interesting just gameplay. And I had like a lot of fun just traversing the world, which is something that a lot of these games are very successful at. Just as a point of comparison, because I just played Grand Theft Auto 5, was that like that was kind of a drag sometimes. Like the distances I would just have to drive somewhere. I know there was a cab system, and for some reason, like in Grand Theft Auto 5, I just didn't like click with me at first, and I didn't start using it probably until the last like few hours of the game. So I was like driving in real time everywhere, and the driving in that game is solid enough to not make that a total drag, but this made it actually fun and exciting, and the way that you would have to get these upgrade points with these like clusters, and so it gave you a reason to kind of hop around and like try to do stuff, and like I had a lot of fun doing it. I really enjoyed doing that, because that's the thing with these games. It's a big part of the game is just traversal. So being able to make that fun again was kind of awesome. It's kind of innovative. And it also is like, and like I said, it's kind of like the airplane of video games. Like it's a spoof of the Matrix. This is a spoof of probably most of what the spoof is of They Live. There's also kind of a spoof on some kind of like, like celebrity status kind of stuff. There's all sorts of other science fiction like games and movie references, and it's a lot of fun. It's very self-aware. It doesn't ever take itself seriously. And it's something I appreciate because it's like pure joy playing that game. So like for me it was kind of perfect. It was just what I needed. Like because I was kind of jaded a little bit over the summer, in terms of my gaming habits, and I was just like, I don't want to play fucking any more Black Ops online. Or I don't want to play any more Battlefield. I beat The Last of Us twice. Like I don't need to. I'm just not into just doing something that's kind of mechanically rote anymore. I'm not saying Last of Us mechanically rote, but I just wasn't into that at the time. So it was kind of like the perfect end of summer like video game, the medicine I needed, if you will. And I just had a blast from start to finish. Like I just sat down because when I first I was just like, all right, I'm gonna install it on my computer and just make sure it works and everything. 3 hours later, like my girlfriend or my fiance rather is like being like, what are you doing? Like I thought we were gonna watch a movie, and I was like, I'm kind of playing this game now. And then the first time I sat down to play Saints Row 4, I probably played it for like 6 hours. 6 hours straight, and I didn't even want to stop. I had to go to bed because I had to work the next day. So I had to like stop myself. But yeah, just like a blast. Mechanically, like, I mean, and it's not super different than Saints Row 3. I mean, I think they did make some interesting upgrades to the mechanics and stuff, that even the driving and stuff is actually a little bit better in Saints Row 3 than it is, even though you're not going to do it very often. But you can actually anytime you want. So if you get bored, you can. But you're not going to have to do it very often, but it's still a little bit better. The shooting is way better in my opinion. Well, maybe way better is probably an overstatement, but it's definitely tightened up a little bit. There's a little bit more weight to it. It's very satisfying. Something that I found actually kind of disappointing in Grand Theft Auto 5. I think this series does it really, really well, and it doesn't just like rest on its laurels. The fact like, hey, it's an open world game and we can't do everything perfect, so But like I think when it's a main gameplay component, like and in all fairness, Grand Theft Auto 5, the shooting stuff is not like a huge part of that game or the way that game works. You're not gonna you don't do it like all the time. On Saints Row 4, you do it all the time. So it behooves them to have good mechanics when it comes to that. And I think Volition like did a really good job. And I know that this was people felt it was kind of rushed and stuff, and I know that the console versions apparently are kind of a mess as far as like frame rate and stuff. Like it's a little bit unpolished. But I played it on the PC. It was beautiful. Graphics are awesome. Well, as best as it can be. It's like, just a little bit better than Saints Row 3. Not a ton better or anything like that. It's comparable. But I don't know. So like I just really, really enjoyed it. I don't know why. It doesn't feel like a game that got a lot of love for some reason. I don't think it like bombed or anything, but I think it did. It probably did okay. But I don't know. I think it's gonna be one of those like underappreciated games, like with especially since the new console cycle is about to start and all that. Like it's gonna be one of those underrated gems. I mean, and I'm not saying that like didn't critically even do well. Like I think it critically did okay because people were kind of like, well, it's a little too iterative. Like it's a little too much like Saints Row 3 in some respects, and they didn't really like. For some reason, they thought like, oh, making Matrix jokes is stale. But, making They Live references is very prescient, because you're a bunch of fucking hipsters, most of you. Classic 80s John Carpenter sci-fi film, that's okay because it's fucking, like, speaks to my hipster sensibilities, but The Matrix, that's too square, man. That's too, you can't joke, it's been too long and it's too much in the past, but it's just like, Matrix is just as much of a classic kind of as They Live, so. But it's also got like some really fun performances, like Keith David's inclusion playing himself is actually really fun, and that's really the crux of this game. It's fun. I had so much fun. It's not like I said, it's not deep. It's not super like there's nothing interesting to say about the story really. Other than it's fun, it was kind of a breath of fresh air when when you were inundated constantly with games that purport to be really deep or immersive experiences and stuff, and Saints Row kind of like gives a middle finger to that. It's just like, no, we're just gonna be a fun video game, and so that it's really cool to hear that. I know some fans. I watched a few like reviews and stuff before or after I played it. I can't remember. Like I remember watching one video in particular. Just some guy, just like me, just talking. And he kept saying, like, this is not a Saints Row game. He's like, it's a good game, but this is not a Saints Row game. And I don't understand what the fuck that even means. Like, who gets to dictate what a Saints Row game is? Like, I think, especially this being coming after 3, it should be kind of expected that they're going to try to up the crazy game every time they come out with a new game. They're gonna one up themselves, and they're gonna try to be as like crazy and weird as they can, and always like push the envelope and do something you don't expect. So, for when people were just like, "This is not a Saints Row game," I mean, I remember the same kind of conversation happening around Saints Row 3. So I guess maybe it's not super surprising. People just get very attached, and understandably, they get very attached to the things they like, and change is scary, right? So, I don't know what the fuck that means. Somebody saying that, like, it's not a Saints Row game. It's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. That's why it's kind of stuck in my memory. I mean, you watch a lot of videos and stuff, and not a lot of what people say, like, really sticks with you, but that did for some reason. Now I'm sitting here reminiscing and thinking about my time with Saints Row 4. It's not like the best game in the world or anything like that. and maybe it was like, the frame of mind I was in at the time when I played it too. Like, I just wanted something that was fun, and it delivered, like in spades. And there's even less, because that was another thing. Like, mechanically, I think there's been improvements, but when it came to the customization stuff, there's actually a little bit less, which I don't really have a problem with, because I don't really care all that much about that stuff. Not really. I mean, like, I think it's cool, and I'll take time with it and build my character and, buy clothes for them and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I don't really care about it. So I didn't really miss it that I didn't have as much control. You still have a good amount, but not as much to shape, like, the physicality of your character and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like I said, I don't think it is a detriment to the game at all, at all. But that's just me. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. It was just cool, it was fun, and it definitely, because in Saints Row 3, they're all, celebrities, but in Saints Row 4, you're, the fucking president, and, it just starts with a bang, and it kind of is able to almost, maintain this, really exciting, fun pace the entire time. No matter, because I played it in about, say 5 to 6 hour chunks at a time. And I never, in any of those play sessions, I never got bored. And as a juxtaposition, I played, like I said, I played Grand Theft Auto 5, and there were times I was bored, I felt like I was going through the motions. I was like, oh, I guess I'll just do this mission before I, shut it off. Not really wanting to. In Saints Row 4, I never really felt like that. I think there's a good amount of mission variety, and they're able to change in just the main mission stuff. They're able to change it up a bit. There's some funny video game kind of stuff where now you got to do Mass Effect style loyalty missions, and you can go to the ship and try to romance your crew and shit like that. And it was fun. It was funny. It's not super in depth. It's more probably an aside. If it wasn't there, maybe it wouldn't really matter. But I appreciated that it was there in any capacity. It was just because it was funny. It wasn't made to make a deeper point about these video games and the video game systems. It's not the Stanley Parable, it's just there to just get a laugh. That's all, and that's fine, and that's awesome. But yeah, for me, it's a big recommend. If you haven't had a chance to play it yet, I would definitely say pick it up. Especially now that it's gonna be Black Friday's coming around, and Christmas time, maybe it'll be on sale or something. Like I said, I got it on my PC, but I would actually probably buy that for the console. And once it goes down in price a little bit, once it gets around the $25 range, I might go buy that on the console and play it again. Because I actually really did, and I actually want to kind of play it again. I often think about man, I can go for some Saints Row 4 right now. There was one thing, I really wish it had, a more, I don't know, in-depth, multiplayer. I think that was something that bothered me about Saints Row 3 as well. There was no, really competitive multiplayer. I didn't play the multiplayer for this one at all. So, yeah. I'm not one of those people that, hangs their hat on multiplayer, needing to be there. I think some games it's perfectly suited for, and some games it feels very, shoved in there. Although, having said that, I think the Last of Us multiplayer is surprisingly enjoyable, and that's not a game I expected to find something like that work well, But, it doesn't need to be there. It's I think there's enough meat on those bones just as a single-player experience to make it worth your money and time. But, yeah. Not as long as the Grand Theft Auto one, thankfully. But, and there's negative things to say about it, it does, even the side mission stuff is still a little redundant, and there's some glitch problems, and it can get, a little repetitive at times, but I don't know, it never to the point. I always thought it was just the right amount. I never felt like I was getting sick of it, I guess. There was a few times where I was oh, this is kind of a drag, but not overwhelmingly so, because the game would just once I got through the the slog portion, the game would introduce something new to me, and a new mission, with a new mission type, so it kind of always was maintained my attention, and always it was able to keep itself fresh, at least in my opinion anyways. Well, anyways, that's it for me. That's my thoughts on Saints Row 4. I don't know if you really call that a review. That's just rambling thoughts. So, anyways, thanks for watching. Goodbye.